and welcome to the Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. Today focus on a game called Mario's Picross for the original Game Boy. Now, it's a puzzle-based game with a little bit of Mario sort of sprinkled in here or there, and it reminds me a little bit like Sudoku or I guess like a crossword, because I mean it is a combination. Picross means picture, crossword, sort of squished together. I didn't realize that for a little while, so I was a little bit behind the times on it. But they basically like give you different numbers at the top of like columns and the rows here, telling you like how many squares you need to uncover and such. And you have to use your context clues to a degree in order to uncover the variety of pictures throughout. I have to say it is a really addictive, it's a really fun game, and it's a shame I never got into it before because it's probably one of the better puzzle games I've played thus far in the challenge. I'm not saying it's my favorite puzzle game because I still haven't got to Dr. Mario yet or Tetris. And, Pokemon Puzzle League. Okay, it's definitely not the top puzzle game on the system, but it is still a really great puzzle game, and I am definitely glad I came across it at this point. Now, this particular game did get moved up in our queue a bit because Hot Wheels 555 request I cover sooner than later, so I actually moved up in the queue. If there's a game that you want to see me cover sooner than later, let me know the name of the game in the comments down below, and just like Mario's Picross, I'll move it right on up. Now, I like to start the videos up, look at the box art for the game first, and I have to say, like, on first look here, actually on multiple looks, I just do not like the US or North American cover for Mario's Picross. It's got this sort of a faceless or headless Mario. I don't know, you have the face there, but there's no like clear defining border of Mario's rest of his head and little blocks throughout. It's just an ugly cover. It makes it look like an educational game. I honestly thought it was going to be something like a Mario Learns Typing or Mario Teaches Typing. I had that growing up. And I don't know, I do not like the cover at all. It does not sound fun, does not look fun. But if you go over to the European cover here, it's got Mario in his little explorer hat, like different numbers swirling around his head, the tricky picture mystery. This is a great cover for the game, and it sums it up way better as well, because Mario's like searching through all these different ancient relics or ancient tombs here, trying to discover these ancient puzzles and through hieroglyphics and whatnot. And this here summarized the game way better, because it does try to implement some of the very light story that's included inside the game, as well as portraying the numbers that you're going to obviously be working with as you go. So if you're going to only buy one copy of the game, or you want to put a cover on the package that you have, definitely go with the European cover. It's just way better. Now, when you load the actual game up here, the title screen is also pretty atrocious because it borrows from the same terrible box art that we mentioned earlier. However, if you look down below, it says the developers of the game, and one of the developers is Ape, and they went on to make the Mother series, which is one of my all-time favorite games. So to like actually play a game that's made by the same company was fairly special, because I never knew like they actually made other games, or I never like really looked into it. And the other developer is known as Jupiter, and they've not really done anything major. They pretty much just sort of took hold of the Picross series, and it's all that they continue to focus on. Even at this point now, I counted on Nintendo Switch Store, there are 19 Picross games, and they're all made by Jupiter. And so, I don't know, they definitely have the monopoly on this particular game style. I just don't feel like it's really popular anymore, because, I mean, honestly, like, you could probably look online and get, like, you know, the puzzle solved pretty quick, but that takes all the fun out of it, and I don't recommend doing that, because this game is a lot of fun on its own. Now, when you get to it, there are 3 options here: is how to play, easy Picross, and just simply Picross. Now, I was fairly overconfident here, and I went straight to Picross, and I went to, like, one of the very last levels in the game, because I was like, I can figure out how to play. I did not figure out how to play, and I died very, very fast here. I will say, like, when you're looking at it, the overall setup here is pretty nice. You got Mario in his little spelunker, or his explorer's hat in the upper left-hand corner, and, you know, it looks fine as far as, like, a puzzle game here. But I went through it pretty fast, because every error you make, you lose extra time off the clock, and I was losing a lot of time very fast. And so I was like, okay, clearly I don't know how to play. And so I went back to the tutorial, which is just simply titled How to Play. I mean, very self-explanatory there. And like I said, Explorer Mario is basically sort of giving you a overview here. There's a hieroglyphic in the center of the screen, and you have to use the clues at the top of the columns or the sides of the rows to figure out how many basically squares you need to flip over or color in, or I guess actually sort of chalk out or hammer out. Chisel out, that's the word I'm looking for. Chisel out these squares, and when you chisel out the appropriate number of squares and the appropriate rows and columns, you'll eventually develop a picture, and that's when you of course solve the particular Picross. Now, it is very specific directions on like which ones you do need to chisel out here. Like if it says 5 at the top of the column, that means you need to chisel out 5 blocks inside of a row. Or if it has like a 4 at the side of the rows here, it means you're going to have to chisel out 4 individual stones all back to back in that particular row. Now, the hard part here is going to come into play when it has like a number and then a second number behind it, which means that you're going to have to chisel out whatever that first number is at least one space, if not more, and then chisel out the rest of the number in that same row. So like if it says a number 1 and then a 3, you have to chisel out one individual square, at least one blank, and then 3 in a row past that. Now in these earlier 5x5 or the tutorial 5x5, very easy to figure out, not much trial and error here. But when you're getting into like the harder parts of the game, it's like a 15x15, you are gonna have to make some educated guesses as you go, or at least I was having to. I guess if you're like truly an expert at the game, there are no guesses at all. You simply know where to go. But it does get definitely more difficult from here. But at this point, I know how to play, but I don't want to really jump back into the full deep end yet. So I go into the easy mode or easy Picross, and there are 64 challenges to go through here. And they really do start off pretty easy. They go up to 5x5, and they're going to venture out into I guess 10x10, and then they're finally going to go to the 15x15. Now the overall map, displaying all 64 courses here, has like a little Egyptian theme in the background, which fits overall great with the theme of the game. Mario, of course, this adventurer or this archaeologist going through, finding these hieroglyphics. Perfect sense. And then when you even journey into like the core game mode here, chiseling out the blocks, even has like some Egyptian hieroglyphics down at the bottom to sort of set the atmosphere a little bit as you go. But as you're going through the first row here, the first 8 levels, they're all going to be 5x5, and they're going to spell out an individual letter. Like the first level here, there's an L, then the second one's an E, the third one's a T, and then it's an S, W-O-R-K, and it spells out let's work. So it's like a small theme for the first 8 levels or the first row of your overall challenge here. And they're very, very easy to simply, they're all 5x5. You'll probably have them taken out first try. And the second row, so the levels 9 through 16, they're going to be 10x10. So the game is getting a little bit harder here. I do recommend, like, anytime it gives you a 10 on the top of a column or the side of a row, go ahead and do that one first because it's all the way across, and you can sort of use that as your clue of how many you need to fill in based upon that, going up and down or left and right. And most of these continue on a theme, sort of like, I guess, playing cards to a degree. Like you have a diamond, a spade, and a heart, and a club. There's a few oddballs like a question mark and a money sign and an arrow, but they do seem to be trying to focus on like card game to a degree. The third row here is still going to be 10x10, and we finally get like a little bit of a hint of Mario. Like one of the levels you're going through, you have to discover a crescent moon, and I'm going to go ahead and assume this is a very early prequel to Mario Odyssey. I know it's not, but let's give the game a little bit of credit. You also have a star, which, could be Mario. You have a sailboat. We're going to go ahead and say that's Wind Waker here as you're figuring out the sailboat. You have a car, so maybe a New Donk City from Mario Odyssey as well. A cactus, we'll say Mario 2, Mario 3. You also have an apple. You know who eats apples. Yoshi eats those apples. You have a chestnut, which now we're losing the train of thought here. And then you have a donut, which we're going to say is like the little donuts in Mario 3. And so as you're going through here, like, some of them are, you stretch, you can make it related back to Mario or Nintendo. But if we're being honest, the vast majority of the game just feels like random images that they sort of pulled out of a hat to fit the overall early 90s aesthetic or early 90s lifestyle as we're going. And so row number 4 is still going to be 10x10. Really nothing great to write home about as far as like images you're going to discover. The puzzles seem pretty much the same difficulty as row number 3. The levels in row number 5 are going to be pretty much the same, but row number 6 truly breaks the mold and gives us genuine Mario characters. Look here, we have Boo in his full personality displayed on the Picross scene here. And I will say, like, sometimes you're going through it, you don't always recognize the items, like, immediately. But when you were doing Boo, like, I knew, like, this is definitely Boo. And then also, they give us actual Mario in row number 6. So the game is trying to sprinkle in some Mario stuff, whether you have to make the connections on your own or just simply giving you straight up Mario. But you are solving these puzzles as you go. Now, row number 7 here and row number 8 is where you're going to get to the 15x15 puzzles. And this is where the game, like, truly becomes, like, I'd say, like, actual Picross. Like I mentioned earlier, you're going to want to look for the rows at the most number chiseled out here, and preferably on the far left-hand or right-hand side, or at the very top and bottom. Because if you can get those filled in, like say you got something on the far right-hand side, and you know that like the final number in that particular row says it's going to have at least 3, you can go ahead and chisel out 3, and you can sort of start building off of that. That's my best advice on the game, is just simply get one of the corners, or one of the edges, left, right, top, or bottom, and just sort of build off of that. And it is going to take you a few tries. I mean, every time you mess up, you are going to lose time. You start off at 30 minutes here, but every time you make a mistake, it takes like 2 minutes away, and then 4 minutes away, then 6 minutes away, or something like that. And you eventually get up to 8 minutes every mistake you make. So you can't make like a ton of mistakes. But as you're going through it here, this is the overall part for Easy Picross, and it truly is pretty easy as you're going through here. Now, the core mode here, when you simply want to go to actual Picross, you go into what's called a Koko mode, which has a mushroom beside it. And this is actually, I had to look it up because I didn't know. Koko is the Japanese word for mushroom. So I feel like they just simply didn't translate it when they brought it over to America. And because they always said mushroom. They've never said Koko in any other Mario game. I feel like they just simply forgot to translate it. The background scenery for the Koko mode is simply going to be the Aztec scenery down below. You can see like the little Aztec temples and whatnot. Once again, they have hieroglyphics. Makes perfect sense for Mario to journey in here to try to find different puzzles and such. As you're going through it, they do seem to try to actually give you a few. Like, for example, in the first row here, you are going to get a Game Boy, which is a really cool little sprite. You also get a better looking star. Definitely has more of the Nintendo charm here. Row 2 really doesn't have a whole lot for it. The third row here, you get Bullet Bill, which is obviously a Nintendo character, and we get a Goomba. Row 4, we're going to finally get ourselves a SNES controller. And then look at row number 5. We get a relic of Nintendo's past, someone smoking in row number 5. Now, they do say it's Bubbles. But come on, you know this is smoking, and they just simply want to not change the sprite but keep it in a Nintendo game. So we have smoking in an actual official Nintendo game. Row 6 and 7, nothing special to write home about. You get a duck, which I guess we could say is from Duck Hunt. Row number 8 here is a penguin, and it's a good-looking penguin as well. And we could say that's from a Mario 64, because obviously, plenty of penguins in there. And once you finish up Koko mode, you unlock the star mode. And star mode, I would say it's most akin to like Arabian Nights as far as like the theme is going with it. I guess you're discovering the ancient relics of Persia, maybe, I guess. Babylon, possibly. But as you're going through here, once again, it's going to be the exact same puzzle mechanics. I'm not going to go through how the puzzles vary because there's not a ton of variety here. It's just simply using your context clues to, chisel these puzzles out. But as far as different things you're going to come across, we have a better star here. We have a sunfish. And then we have our second instance of smoking inside the game. And so I tell you, like, this game here was really pushing the boundaries. I don't know if it would be rated E anymore because I think any television show that has smoking in it is automatically TV 14, isn't that right, for rating systems? And so this game here be a rated T game, possibly an M-rated game with Mario in it because it's including the smoking. And no, it does not matter. It's bubble smoking because they knew exactly what they were doing here. Row number 2, though, you do get Yoshi in one of the puzzles. Pretty cool. We're bringing about Yoshi. Then we got like a tiger later on. I'm going to mention the cat, obviously. And we get the fire flower at some point. But for the most part, there's really not a lot of Mario stuff in the star mode here, which is fairly disappointing. I'd say the most Mario stuff came in the Koko mode thus far. And when you do get to the very final obstacle or the very final puzzle, I would expect it to be like Bowser or, Princess Peach or really anything Mario related. And you get a guitar, which was, I'm going to go ahead and say it. That was a letdown. And once you finish up the final puzzle, then you can unlock time trial mode. And just simply gives you a random puzzle. And you don't actually get to see like what your errors are. You have to press the B button to like sort of designate that it's not a hollowed out space. You have to figure out the puzzle. So there's no like trial and error. You just simply have to like use your overall Picross skills here that you develop throughout the game to make sure you do it completely correctly from the get-go. I only did a few of these matches. I did one in order to get it under 15 minutes, and I was able to get the high score. But there's never actually an opportunity where the credits are going to roll inside the game. You simply, every time you beat a game mode, it just simply says like you are a master of Picross and unlock something else. And then I got the high score on time trial after unlocking everything. And so I assume since it said I have beaten Picross, like I've actually finished the game, and there is no actual credits to roll. And so overall, this is a very long game. I made it sound really short. I'd say this game probably took me 10 hours-ish to beat. I'm going to have to estimate a little bit on that. But I'd say about 10 hours to go through the game. The only complaint I would have about it is the background music wasn't my favorite, and the background music is going to be very, in your face as you play through it for 10 individual hours. I like a puzzle game like Mario or Dr. Mario or Tetris. Classic music, love the music, never get tired of music. This here, I did get a little bit tired of the music as I was going. I wish there was a little bit more Mario actually sprinkled in here, or maybe even like actual hieroglyphics, because some of the puzzles just simply seemed a little lame, a little hard to decipher until it actually told you what it was. And so that's the only real complaint I would have. But it's a top tier puzzle game. I really enjoyed it. I'm planning to probably see what the Super Nintendo version's about, because I know there's a Super Mario Picross. At least go through some of those puzzles, see the differences between that. But overall, I'd probably give this game a solid 8 out of 10. I feel like we have to put a number on it because it's a number-based game, and I feel like 8 out of 10 is pretty good there. a really fun puzzle game, and I would highly recommend it if you've never played it before. It's on Nintendo Switch Online. But what do you all think? Did you enjoy Mario's Picross? Let me know in the comments down below. As if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.